Today I'll be showing you how to make your very own custom desk speakers. These little boxes are unobtrusive but deceptively powerful, and the best thing is, they're easy to make. Let's get to it. So, we actually need very few materials for this. You'll need an amplifier chip, a battery, a switch, an audio jack, and some speakers. If you're using a lithium cell, like mine, you'll need a battery protection board and a recharging board. You can also use a AA battery pack, but I prefer this design. I've decided to use 4 speakers, 2 per side, simply because I had extras, but you don't need to do this. Time to begin construction. Small disclaimer, I'm not an electrical engineer, I'm just a nutter in a studio who likes to build things. So please understand that if you follow anything I do, it's completely at your own risk. We'll start by soldering the battery to the recharging board, and then we can attach the power output wires backwards, as I've done here. Once we fix that, we can add the switch into the circuit, and now we have a way to cut power if the whole thing explodes. We can now attach the power wires to their corresponding pads on the amplifier chip. I've never discovered what happens if you attach them the wrong way around, and I'd rather not, so make sure you do this properly. Next, we can attach the audio jack to the amplifier. Here I've salvaged this one from a ground loop eliminator board, but you can also chop the end off an auxiliary cable or an old pair of earbuds. If you do end up repurposing earbuds or an old cable, you'll need to find which wires are left, right, and ground. Using this handy diagram I've drawn up, we can see the green wire corresponds to ground on the amplifier board. Sometimes this wire is also black. The red wire corresponds to the right pad on your amplifier board, and the yellow wire goes to left. Sometimes the left wire is also white, or confusingly green. It will, unfortunately, vary for you. Next, we can wire up the speakers, and here I'm wiring them in series. Normally when I build speakers, I wire them in parallel, but as the amplifier chip is a rather weak one, I'm going to try and reduce the load on it with this method. Once we've done that, we can solder them to their corresponding pads on the amplifier chip, and now we can run our first test. How do they sound? Awful. It appears wiring them in series wasn't a good idea. The sound is horribly distorted, and the crackling is even more obvious with louder music. To try and improve this awful sound quality, I wired them in parallel, like I normally do. Now, at low volumes, it sounds fine. But at mid to high volumes... awful. Again. So I charged the battery before running a third test, and suddenly they were fine. Deciding not to mess with them anymore, I moved on to the box construction. This is the back panel where all the inputs are going to be: the switch, audio jack, and recharging port. I sealed all the holes with glue. It's very important for speaker boxes to be airtight, then began building the main box. The dimensions of the speaker box are calculated to squeeze the best sound I can out of these speaker drivers, and I'll leave a link to the same calculator I used in the description. After cutting out the panels, we can add the holes for the speakers themselves. This is the point where I discovered my camera's internal microphone was on, so let's take a listen to some top quality ASMR audio.
Oh, it split the back. Whatever, I guess that's the bit you won't see. No!
Next, we can nail the panels together. I would have used screws, except I tested them earlier and they split the plywood, so nails it is. No turning back now. Here, we can see a fine specimen of a bent nail, which is something that anyone who has ever hammered nails can remember creating. Hammering it in further would have split the wood, but no matter. That's what an angle grinder is for. There. Good and neat with the head ground off. Back in the studio, we can glue the back panel to its corresponding cutout, making sure to leave no gaps where air could get through. We repeat this for all the internal components: the amplifier chip, I drilled a hole to fit the volume knob through earlier, the battery, and the speakers. Immediately deciding that I didn't like the speaker orientation, I took them out and put them on the outside, which meant that I could now use screws to fix them in. Much more secure. Since the other 2 speakers are going to be in a different box, we need to extend the wires for the unused channel on the amplifier chip. Here, the speakers in this box are wired to the left channel of my amplifier chip, and so I need to extend the wires of the right channel. According to the internet, speaker boxes need soft material to absorb rear sound waves from the driver, reducing internal echoes, standing waves, and box resonance. Or in other words, you need to stuff a towel in it to make it sound better. Not having wool or foam to line the box, I stuffed a thick winter sock inside and sealed it up. This box is now mostly done, which means I can now reveal the other one that I prepared earlier. To make it, I simply wired 2 speakers to the long cable protruding from the first speaker box we built, which, if you remember, goes to the amplifier chip. The plywood for this one is slightly different, so I expect it will sound a little different. I stuffed it with another sock, sealed it up, and now they're ready for us to test. They actually sound quite good, so it's a shame that I figure out only later how to record them properly. They have a decent amount of punch and are quite crisp, but one thing that I don't like about them is how much the boxes color the sound. It's very boomy. This is a little disappointing, but it's nothing that can't be fixed with some equalizer software, and so I continued construction. Removing the speakers, I plugged the holes with cardboard and left the studio to sand them for a few hours. After that, I painted them with some generic white gloss wall paint. While that dries, let's work on the volume knob. I made mine by sawing the end off of a broom handle, sanding it until it was smooth, and then covering it in carbon fiber vinyl wrap. Very smart. I attached it to the amplifier chip by gluing this paperclip to both, and it works quite well. Then, because I suppose it wouldn't be a proper build without at least one of these, disaster struck. While screwing the speakers back into place, my drill bit punctured the speaker driver. I instantly flew to the internet to see if I could fix this and see whether it would ruin the sound quality, and came back with a tincture of glycerin and PVA glue. After mixing far too much glycerin into the mixture, I applied it to the rip and waited for it to dry. And, as long as they sound good, we're done. They look quite unobtrusive with my desk setup and actually fit surprisingly well with the whole aesthetic. The red and white even matches my MIDI keyboard, which wasn't something I planned for. But how do they sound? Has the rip ruined the sound quality? Nope. I don't think so. With a little bit of equalization to cut the boomy frequencies, they sound great. Definitely better than the old speakers I had before. Overall, in my opinion, a success. There are many things I would do differently if I could build these again, but until then, I'm a satisfied customer. Until next time, everyone.